Mayor Eric Adams is making an announcement to show support for the LGBTQ plus community. Let's listen in.
And justice for all. I'd like to also acknowledge Deputy Chancellor of School Leadership Desmond Blackburn and Dr. Joanna Johnson, Chief of School Culture and Wellbeing, and Council Members Bottcher and Osei. The Department of Education understands and acknowledges that every student deserves to be heard, seen, affirmed, especially our LGBTQ young people. We are proud to host proactive LGBTQ inclusive curriculum, robust policy that supports our transgender and gender nonconforming students, and we encourage gender and sexuality alliances at schools. We believe we can end hate and foster empathy and understanding by creating a space where everyone can freely discover who they are. The work we do can even keep our students alive. A staggering 50% of transgender youth who are not supported in their community are more likely to attempt suicide. It's hard enough being a kid and a teenager. Let's not add to their pain by telling them they have to be ashamed of who they are when they come to school. I know this firsthand, because when I was growing up as a young person, discovering my identity within the LGBTQ community, these topics weren't spoken about in my community, they weren't spoken about in my school, they were extremely taboo, and because of that, when I started to discover who I was forced to be living with shame because I thought something was wrong with me because no one was allowed to talk about it. And that is not how any young person should grow up. I'm proud to work for the Department of Education and a city who understands at the end of the day that we are all human beings and our different identities are what makes us and our city a one-of-a-kind melting pot. And now I would like to introduce Mayor Eric Adams. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalima, and really for that personal narrative around what life was like. I remember being a captain in the 6th Precinct in downtown Manhattan, going over to Christopher Street to the park on the pier, talking to some of the young people who, when they decided to talk to their parents about who they wanted to be, and their parents, some of them were thrown from their homes, they were runaways, and I think that you're right, it's a matter of life and death. That we are joining this conversation. And I want to thank the advocates here. You know, Alan, you know, you have been an advocate for these issues for so long. And this is the city of Stonewall. You know, this is the city where we are proud to, you know, talk about how you can live in a comfortable setting and not be harassed, not be abused, not only as adults, but also as young people. And so I'm the mayor of this city, the city of the LGBTQ plus community, as we see people in government and out of government understanding how your voice is respected here in the city. And that's what this movement of Don't Say Gay is about. This political showmanship of attempting to demonize a particular group or community is unacceptable. And we are going to loudly show our support and say to those who are living in Florida, listen, we want you here in New York. You know, we want you right here in New York City, and it's more than just saying that, it's also standing up and aligning ourselves with the men and women of the LGBTQ plus community and stating that we are in unison with you and your right to have self-identification, your right to live the lifestyle and live the lives that you choose to live without any form of harassment. And New York values free speech. We value to make sure that people don't feel abused, no matter what ethnicity, or no matter how you self-identify. And this is very important to us, and we're proud to be a part of this. And we're partnering with WPPP to put up billboards in in major markets across Florida to let everyone know. We're targeting Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, and West Palm Beach. We believe we're going to get about 5 million impressions, and they're going to be up for an 8-week period celebrating the diversity and acceptance of New York City. We will show this in the billboards, you have here right now. Very clear statement, and we're proud of it. Other folks want people to hide their color. We like to show our color, and that's the rainbow that's representative of this community. We want to remind everyone that New York City is full of people who will be celebrated now and in the future. And as I stated, this is the city of Stonewall, and we will continue to stand fast and be supportive of this community that has contributed to the diversity of our city. And we believe that this is the city that will always allow that diversity to take place. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to you.
I'd like to now introduce Kevin Jennings, Chief Executive Officer at Lambda Legal.
Mr. Mayor, this is one of those days I am really proud to be a New Yorker. This kind of leadership is not something the LGBTQ+ community has had often in history. Instead, people of power have tried to erase us. During the Middle Ages and the Inquisition, LGBTQ+ people were burned at the stake. The Nazis put us in camps. During the Reagan administration, the government stood by and did nothing while tens of thousands of people died. More men who have sex with men died of AIDS in New York alone than Americans died in the Vietnam War. So we welcome a person with power who uses his forces for good, who sends a message to young people that they matter, that they are valued, that they are loved. Because I could tell you as a former teacher, if a student doesn't feel like you care about them, they will not survive and thrive in the world. So this campaign sends an important message to young people, not just in Florida, not just in New York City, but around the country and around the world, that there are leaders like Mayor Adams who care about them and that they are not alone. And on behalf of Lambda Legal, the nation's oldest LGBTQ Rights Plus organization, I want to say thank you for your leadership, Mayor Adams.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to now introduce longtime LGBTQ+ advocate, Alan Roscoff.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I urge people to listen to the mayor's speech when he was on the floor of the state Senate on behalf of marriage. I'm thrilled to be here today, and I have some suggestions, because no matter what you do, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to suggest more. Our students in the city still feel threatened and intimidated and are afraid to come out. In fact, many teachers who are out to their colleagues are afraid to come out to their students. So here's what I suggest for the upcoming LGBTQ Pride Month. I suggest that all these posters be posted in every school. I suggest that there be a banner as students walk into their schools saying, "Celebrate LGBTQ Pride." And I recommend that there be an assembly in every school with an identical program, perhaps a film, so the students could learn about why we celebrate LGBTQ Pride. And of course, I recommend that LGBTQ issues be integrated in the curriculum in every school. And the classrooms, when they teach history or any other subject, whether it be sex education or whatever, that we're part of the discussion and we're part of the curriculum. We have a lot of work to do. I know what it meant to grow up and be isolated and not respected and in fear of telling anyone that I was gay, and that still exists in our schools. So for Pride, let's do incredible things, and there are many of us in the community that will work with you. with ideas and to make sure that these things happen. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to see this progress. Otherwise, I won't stop texting you. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I do want to commend the mayor for his leadership in this act of solidarity with the LGBTQ community. And I'll say it because the mayor probably won't, but also want to give a big FU to Governor Ron DeSantis for his lack of leadership in standing in solidarity with the LGBTQ community. I do want to note that the right and Republicans are taking advantage of this moment to heighten fear of trans and LGBTQ young people to distract us from their coup or staged coup on January 6th of 2021. So I do want to tell all young trans and LGBTQ folks in Florida that this is a safe place for you. As a young queer person that grew up in the city, I admire the deep history of Stonewall, of our queer ancestors that have made an environment so comfortable here in New York. So again, I do commend this administration on listening to advocates, on listening to the LGBTQ folks of New York City and providing a safe place to the young trans and LGBTQ and even not young trans and LGBTQ folks of Florida. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Last week, Governor DeSantis of Florida said something along the lines of New Yorkers, people in high-tax Democratic states are fleeing and coming to Florida. What do you say in the context of this situation where his state is, according to you, making itself unwelcome to certain people?
I never thought in my life I would be quoting Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they'll be back.
Mr. Mayor, a lot of the folks around you right now last month were speaking out very forcefully against the three hires of pastors who had made anti-gay remarks in the past. I want to see how you reconcile those hires with this message, and if folks like Mr. Roscoff want to speak to this reconciliation as well.
Well, this community, as I think, as the councilman stated, that they have always turned up the heat on topics that they believe are important. I've joined them in many of them, as Alan alluded to, the days on the Senate floor fighting for marriage. And this is not a community that's going to be silenced. If they see something they don't like, they're going to let you know. But my rich history, as we sat around the room and talked, was former Senator Tom Dwayne and others of how long we've worked together. So we can work through anything, but we will never go to the days where we will publicly demonize a group, and that's what's happening now. And so they've always said they're concerned about the hires that we made, and we're going to continue to move forward. And these are not just citizens. These are personal friends on the fight to deal with the progress in the LGBTQ plus community.
Mr. Roscoff, would you like to speak to it?
Of course, we were very disappointed and outraged over the appointments, but we decided to move on and work with the mayor, who we believe made a big mistake in making those appointments. But there's a lot that we can do together, and we remembered the mayor's history on behalf of the LGBT community. So we're moving onward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, previously earlier at the press conference, Mr. Roscoff brought up a list of ideas that he wants you to pursue during Pride Month in schools, putting up these posters, enacting more as part of the curriculum. What do you think of those ideas? Is that something you can...
I think they're good ideas. We have our rep here from the Department of Education. I'm sure Alan is going to sit down with them, and those that we can do, we look forward to doing so.
Can you commit to right now one of those?
No. Next question.
You know, obviously spending millions of dollars on this campaign, some people might see a time when you're doing belt-tightening the city budget and wonder, how does this benefit New York? You might be sending a message to people in Florida, but is there really any benefit accruing to New York that makes it worth the expense?
I just love that question. This is costing New York City taxpayers nothing. Space is donated, billboards are donated, advertisement is donated. Outside people who live in this city that understands we cannot treat people unfairly are standing up the way New Yorkers do. New Yorkers lead the entire country on conscience and what is the right thing to do. So taxpayers are not paying 1 penny for that, and I hope that you report that it costs us nothing. It's the right thing to do because we're New Yorkers.
So, on another point, when you met with Mr. Roscoff and other of the LGBTQ community leaders next to you last month, they laid out a list of demands that they wanted you to act on, including creating a city hall office dedicated to LGBTQ issues that would have an actual budget. Do you have any update for us on if you're going to act on any of those demands?
No. Another question?
All right, that's it for on topics. Now we're going to take off topics. So give me a second.
Yeah, you guys can bounce. You don't have to be part of this.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you.
Got your back.
Good morning, Mayor. So in terms of addressing gun violence, you've said what you want Washington to do. The NYPD is responding. Is there a role that everyday New Yorkers, I guess, can or should be playing in terms of preventing some of the gun violence that we're seeing?
Love that question. Love that question. You know, I was ridiculed over the campaign because when I was in the state Senate, I put out a video that we're going to remake to show parents what to look for in their household. People thought I was wrong, but every day there are guns that are hid in the rooms of our children. A company followed what I was doing, and they put out a bus that they took around the country showing how to look for drugs, how to look for weapons, how to look for other telltale signs. And other individuals picked up on what I'm doing, and we're going to relaunch that. Many family members don't realize what their children are doing every day, and no one is educating them. It's a void. And we're going to encourage our schools, our churches, our houses of worship, how to play a role in knowing what your child is doing. The guns in your homes, the drugs in your home. Your child may be wearing red all day. That could be a sign that they are in a gang. They could be doing gang dance, gang drawings. No one is empowering parents who are seeing their children every day participating in illegal behavior. And we're going to start empowering parents with real information. We leave that out of the equation and believe that only law enforcement could do it, and that is just not true. Parents can play a more active role if we empower them with information, and that is what we're going to start doing.
Good morning, Mayor.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? So last month there was a huge reduction from the city in the amount of pandemic emergency food provided to the pantries under the program known as PFRED. I guess the program was intended to be temporary and COVID related, but there wasn't any advance warning when these mid-year cuts happened and there's been no explanation given. So I'm just wondering if you could explain what happened. Did the program overspend its budget? And is there a plan in your administration to address concerns about the amount of food being provided between now and June that is much needed by people going to these pantries?
Let me look into that. Fabian, we'll get back to you. I'm not sure what happened with it.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, the state budget is still being negotiated, and there's the idea of extending 421A for another year on the table. What do you think of that proposal?
I think they should. I'm a supporter of the modifications that are needed, and I think we should be able to come to a closure on it. We need housing. We need to continue to have more housing, and I think that if we make the modifications, that they can come to a deal. And so I'm hoping they're able to do so.
Mr. Mayor, on the city budget side, the council just put out a proposal asking for another $3 billion to enhance the streets master plan, put in many more miles of bus lanes and bike lanes and pedestrian plazas. I know we don't necessarily want to negotiate the budget right here, but how receptive are you to that big increase when I know you're looking for a lot of budget decreases?
We don't want to negotiate the budget here.
In general, the idea of
We don't want to negotiate the budget here. We don't want to negotiate the budget here. I'm a biker, but we don't want to negotiate the budget here.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. council. So is that something, if you say you don't want to negotiate, that you will add that?
No, I said we don't want to negotiate the budget here, not that topic. I'm a biker, I'm an I'm a Metro card user, I believe in public transportation, but this is not the place to negotiate the budget. We will negotiate the budget with the city council, and then we'll roll out what the budget is going to be.
What is your allocation? Because the budget, like the mayor's budget, doesn't actually specify the number allocated for the master
I'm going to start that question again because I lost you because of your mask muffling. Ask the question again.
The budget doesn't actually specify the dollar amount allocated to the street master plan. So the council asked for $3.1 billion, but what have you allocated to it?
We'll have Jock get back to you and give you the exact number.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. 3 weeks ago, you told parents to trust you, that you would unmask our toddlers. 10 days ago, you stood right here and you said that the masks would come off on April 4th. That has not happened. You reneged on your promise, and not only did you renege on your promise, you had your lawyers race to court on Friday night to overturn a state court.
No. Let her finish because you let her start. Go ahead and finish, ma'am, okay? But you got to come to a conclusion. Can't do it. Okay, come to a conclusion and turn on your phone so you can get my answer correctly. But come to a conclusion. Okay, how are you back there?
March 17th that you would trust me, I will unmask your toddlers. You had your lawyers race to court on Friday night, arguing that there would be irreparable harm if children under 5 were allowed to take off their masks today, along with their older siblings in school. So my questions are, what is the irreparable harm to children aged 2 to 4 taking off their masks, just as they do in Long Island, just as they do in Westchester? When will you unmask our toddlers?
Thank you. As I stated, as you indicated, I made the announcement that we were looking to announce today, which is Monday, to take the mask off to 2 to 4 years old. But I also stated, if we see an uptick, we will come back and make the announcement of what we're going to do. We're going to pivot and shift as COVID is pivoting and shifting. There's a new variant. The numbers are increasing. We're going to move at the right pace, and that's the role I must do. That's what I stated. I'm living up to my promises. If I have to pivot and shift and have other adults do something different, I'm going to do so. I'm going to continue to do so. I answered your question. If you want to follow up, we could do a follow-up, but I answered your question. Thank you.